Hi guys, this is Miss K. Obviously, since you're watching this, you realize I am not there today. Feeling a little under the weather, but I thought that I would try to record a video to kind of help you out with today's learning so that you don't feel like you're behind when I get back on Wednesday. So if you are watching this, that means you guys already went through your warm-up. Just to recap, if you were building a house and you wanted to make sure those studs that you saw in the picture were parallel, how would you go about doing that? So kind of my response was, well, if I was building that house, I would check to see if there were any angle relationships that existed, which would go ahead and prove parallel lines. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, okay, there's a lot easier way to do this. I'm sure with construction sites today, there are a lot of tools and different devices that are used. But if I wanted to go old school, I could look for those angle relationships that exist. And the one that I use as an example would be why not check and see if corresponding angles are congruent. Remember, corresponding angles are the angles that occur in the same position but on different lines. So in this case, I was just looking at this top angle each time to see, are they congruent? If those angles are congruent, then yes, I can prove that the lines are parallel. So just moving on from here, if you think about what we were talking about yesterday, I know it was kind of a dense class. There was a lot of vocabulary kind of put together in there. I want to go back and take a look at some of that before we move on for today. So you'll kind of see homework tonight is going to be pages 17 through 20 in the packet. Don't worry too much about it. There's like one, maybe two questions per page, but I gave you a lot of space so that you could actually show your work. There is going to be some algebra involved in what we're doing today and then tonight for homework. So if you go ahead, I want to kind of take and review what we did yesterday. So if you go back to this page, where you were taking all of your notes, I've kind of given you the words that I would plug in. So if you didn't have them, and if you didn't look at my MCPS classroom last night, because I did post them there, but if you didn't have a chance to look at that, then you can go ahead and check your work now. So I would just suggest anytime during this video, you want to write something or try something, just hit pause and then unpause me and I'll keep talking. So here for these, remember, a transversal is any line that intersects two or more lines. And in this case, we're talking about that transversal cutting through the parallel lines. So we only know a transversal only cuts through parallel lines when those angle relationships become visible, those ones that we talked about yesterday. So vertical angles, they are angles that are always directly across from each other. Remember, they're made from two lines intersecting. And then those angles that are across from each other, either on any part of that X, are considered congruent, and we call them vertical. So if you're looking at this picture, then when it asks you for examples, and hopefully you looked at this last night, but angles 1 and 3 are vertical angles. Angles 2 and angle 4, angle 5 and angle 7, angle 6 and angle 8. All of those are what we call vertical angles. And remember, vertical angles are congruent. Then moving on, corresponding angles are angles that are in the same position, but on different lines when two parallel lines are cut by a transversal. So these angles are also always congruent. So a lot of times I think about the transversal cutting through those parallel lines and kind of forming a cross. So I'm saying, like, if the upper left position is going to be congruent to the upper left position on the second line. Kind of working it out that way. So you can kind of take a look at your picture and the examples that I put, 1 and 5, 4 and 8, 2 and 6, 3 and 7. Those are all congruent because they are corresponding. Alternate interior angles, we talked about those being the alternate sides. If your transversal is cutting through your parallel lines, they are on alternate sides or opposite sides of the transversal on the inside of the parallel lines. Those are also congruent. Alternate exterior angles are going to happen the same way. They're on the outside of the parallel lines, but they are on the opposite or the alternate side of the transversal. Those are also congruent. So if there's any notes here that you need to get down, again, just pause it, write it in. Same side angles are always supplementary. So same side interior are going to be those inside angles on the same side of your transversal. Exterior are the outside angles on the same side of the transversal. And examples of those, the same side interior would be 4 and 5 or 3 and 6. And the same side exterior are 1 and 8 or 2 and 7. So really the only ones that you kind of have to remember our supplementary, our same side, and those are all S's. That's how I remember. Same side, supplementary. And it doesn't matter if it's interior or exterior. Okay. So now kind of moving on, this was your homework last night, and I had asked you to do the odds on this page that you're looking at right now. So go ahead and kind of check your work. And again, just pause if you need to look at it. Any questions that you have, we can just kind of mark them, and then we can talk about them on Wednesday. If you want to go back through and try the evens tonight or on your own time, obviously this will be posted so you can take a look at it. For the second page, I asked you to do all of it because I wanted you to see the relationship here. So here you were asked to find the measures of all the numbered angles, and you were told that line M is parallel to line M. So just make sure you were looking at the correct lines there. Here was line M, and here is line N, and those two are parallel to each other, which makes those two other lines the transversals. So when I look at it that way, if I consider, let's see, I'll use pink. If this is one of my transversals, then I know I have vertical angles, I have corresponding angles, I have alternate exterior, alternate interior, I have same side, and same side exterior and same side interior. So these are kind of the fun puzzle, because once you figure out one set, you also know the next set, because you can literally just use all of the relationships you know. So if let's see, make this easy. If this top they gave me was 105, I literally go through and I just mark all the 105s. 105 is corresponding to angle 5, so that's also 105. 105 is vertical to angle 2, so that's also 105. And 105 is the alternate exterior angle to angle 6, so that's also 105. Think about it this way. If I know now that all 4 of those angles are 105, then all I have to do is subtract from 180, because if you look here, I have a straight line, and the straight line is 180. So I know that 75 degrees plus 105 degrees is 180. So that makes literally every other angle that was still blank 75. These are the easy ones. Get the easy ones right. If you look over at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, you were given this 76 degree angle. So I literally did the same thing. It is vertical to 13. It is corresponding to 9. And it is an alternate interior to 10. So all 4 of those angles are 76 degrees. And what is 180 minus 76? It is 104. So that makes 8, 11, 12, and 14 all 104 degrees. Moving on. You were then asked to solve for the variables. This is where it gets to be a little bit more algebraic. So if you need to pause me, please do, and kind of take a look at the work that I have written down. You were asked to solve for X and then for Y in some of the scenarios. So a lot of times you can see in number 1, Y is a vertical angle to the 3X plus 30. So I literally, once I solved for X, I just went back through and plugged it in. And here I was just at X is 25, right? So just make sure you understand that. But I plugged it back in to actually find what the angle would be, to make sure that in those cases, when I solved for Y being 105, I knew that this angle was also 105. And I knew that the vertical angle was also 105. So I just wanted to plug in my X to make sure I had the right value. And that's what you see down here in this work, okay? In number 2, I have those same side interiors, and I know the same side interior angles are supplementary, so I just set them equal to 180, and then I solved for X, and then once I had X, again, I just plugged it back in. 7 times 10 is 70, so I knew that these were same side interiors. I could just add that up and make sure it worked, but I also know, and this is kind of where this comes into play, 11X and Y are both vertical. So I just literally took the 10 from my X value and I plugged it in. 11 times 10 gave me 110 degrees for Y. Moving right along, you will see the answers for 5, 6, 7, and 8. Go ahead and check your work. And then I'm going to start a new video because I can only record for so long for free. So I'm going to start video number 2, but here is your 5, 6, 7, and 8 to check your work before you move on.